Hello everyone and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 311. Today is Sunday, April 5th, 2020, and I'm glad you could join me today. So I'm podcasting a little bit earlier than usual. It's fairly overcast today. I decided not to go with the studio lights, which, like, this room is still in disarray. We are missing a piece of IKEA hardware. It is preventing everything else from occurring for some reason. Oh, well, such is life. Kitchen's almost done, so that's good. So it's been a fairly chill week at home. Just gonna keep being this way for quite some time, so whatever. 7 more weeks to go with the opportunity for extensions. But I decided to put in links today, and I'm wearing my boxy even though it's still unblocked. And we'll go from there. But I did manage to get all of my projects into a good state to show off on the podcast, so positive. Whatever, we'll make it work out. So what has gotten the most of this week, I think, is my sizzle pop. So this is a Leslie Ann Robinson pattern. And I am knitting it out of yarn that I got at DFW Fiberfest last year. So this side is the You Can't Keep Me Down. And this side is You Can Never Have Enough Socks. So this is, I think the best way to describe it is sort of that grape Kool-Aid color. And then this one is, whatever, pretty variegated, with sky blues, acid greens, a little bit of hot pink, a little bit of purple, but a different purple than what's in here. And so that is showing up really, really nice and clearly on this. So I just finished a repeat. I'm not sure whether or not this one, basically, each set of leaves, every 2 sets of leaves is actually a full pattern repeat because you're increasing along one edge. So you get a partial repeat of a leaf, and then you get a full repeat, and then the chart starts over again. So I am about ready to either start the middle of the chart or the beginning of the chart. Luckily this pattern is like really easy to read, so I just need to occasionally reference the chart for what the partial leaf looks like at the very end of the row. And it's been my meeting knitting, so I'm on a decent number of conference calls, and so that's something that ends up being sort of a nice thing to do during those. With occasional working on it. So the Friends of Sock Knitters had a Zoom meetup, so I was working on that project. For that, it was interesting trying to get England and the West Coast of the United States all on the phone call at the same time. So I made coffee during the call. And the people in England had to go start making theirs because it was getting a little late. And then I have this in this bag, which is bringing me quite a lot of joy. So over in Completely Twisted and Arbitrary, it looks like we're going to be having a Three Waters Farm spin along, and so I included a picture of this bag and this project in the inspiration thread because I don't know, What would it be? I think right now having a little bit more white is the palette cleanser from this Foxy. Oh, man, I wish I could block it so I could figure out if I need to read it, parts of it. It's fairly chilly today. It was rainy all day yesterday. It was rainy. It's pretty rainy today too, so what would it be? And there's definitely a difference between when it's raining and when it's foggy and rainy. Like, there's like a different level of chill that goes on. So I'm actually pretty comfortable in this today. I'm still very curious about how the dirt's gonna come out, but we shall see. The other project did actually make some forward progress. So, excuse me, this is, the pattern is Maritz, and I've adapted it into fingerless gloves. Excuse me. That I'm currently knitting for the Deersuit Level 1. So, black and blue. Is it like I totally blend it? Hadn't thought about that when I put this one on. So, right now I am at like a small decision point because it'd be the case where I figured out like a nice finger length for this guy. Repeated that on this one, and then when the Deersuit Level 1 tried it on most recently, that ended up resulting in the fingers not being as long as he wanted. So some adaptation is probably going to be needed. I think part of it was just like getting the fingers placed right, and then like interesting things like so with my fingers, my pointer finger is longer than my ring finger. With his fingers, his ring finger is longer than his pointer. So, what would it be? I just find these things to be interesting. So every so often I will stop him from playing Age of Empires 2 and put this on. So if I look here on my middle finger, I think what he wanted was actually for it to go past the knuckle, and it's not past my knuckle, though the thumb is totally the wrong size. And I still need to close the hole in there. And it looks pretty, the thumb looks pretty strange off, because in order to make it long enough for him, I had to do more rows, and I was still doing that same increase rate. And then it turned out that it was just going to be like a silly number of stitches. And even this, like, there's quite a lot of stretch that you can get out of this bad boy. So, but the thumb is probably the least important one. So I decreased this to a point which made me happy, and the ribbing hides so many sins. It's fantastic. So I'm doing 2x2 ribbing. Sort of what got me stalled in this project a little bit was that I needed to figure out how to handle the fingers, because my reference pattern was a different stitch count. So I sat down using, the reference pattern I'm using is the Naughty Gloves, which is a free pattern. I downloaded it when I made my first pair of fingerless mitts that were sadly lost in Albuquerque way long time ago. During the podcast, but a way long time ago. So I sat down with that pattern, I looked at the ratio, looked at the pickups for in between the fingers, and then scaled it. And luckily I was able to put together a scaling that involved multiple of 4, because multiple of 4 means that you can do a 2x2 rib to match the cuff. I hadn't thought about that when I started it. 1x1 would have been way easier, but I think this might be texturally a little bit less annoying for the Deersuit Level 1. Because he was complaining about like the thickness in between his fingers, but it was like the gloves. So hopefully that ends up being a smooth enough transition, because stockinette would probably take up a little bit less room. But I think the 2x2 stretched out is fine. I feel like danger of poking myself in the eye. So now the question is, how long do these 3 fingers really need to be? right now I have 15 rows of finger. I may try 5 more and see if that actually covers on this one, and if he likes it, then I can rip out the cast off and reknit. Fingers. But at the very least, it started now. They were going really fast. He was maybe a little bit annoyed that I was stopping him frequently because it's not a lot of knitting. Like, there are 24 stitches on this finger. Like, it's not crazy. And then the pinky is going to be smaller because, or would it be? So I managed to have it work out so that I can have 20 stitches on the pinky. And so that'll be shorter some amount. I'll have to interrupt and try it on because I think that's the only way. So I'll be curious to see if 20 rows is better, and then I'll have to undo the cast off on the other fingers and deal with that. Whatever. So that is the story there. Maurice is a Stephanie van der Linden pattern, which is inspired by MC Escher, which is why we have these awesome tessellated lizards. And I don't even remember who the author of the Naughty Gloves is. I think it was the case where it was something, it was like in my queue or something or other, I don't know. In more ambitious knitting days than now. Not like it's that great, but it was the case where, what would it be? But this is definitely make stuff up, make it work sort of situation. And I was really excited to find out. I pulled out my double point stash and I was like, these needles look thinner than the other needles. And so I did actually have a stash of 00. I don't know what brand these double points are, but I did have metal 00s. During this pinky operation, maybe I'm only slightly annoyed with the Xiaogu red lace. Itty Bitty Cirque. Just because it is spreading things open, because it is a metal cable instead of a plastic cable. It's plastic coated metal, but whatever. It was pretty seamless. I didn't really notice any difference between my Haya Sharp Itty Bitty Cirques and this one, so that is fine. So far so good. No, I don't have anything handy, do I? I have like weird stuff surrounding me. I tried to clear a little bit of it out of the shot, but not everything. So it'd be the case where these are actually coming along pretty nicely. This got some evening knitting time on it once I was like, you know what, I need to make at least a little bit of progress. And then I have oodles of the yarn left over, so it'll be fun to come up with I think, a matching pattern for this. We shall see. Not one with little lizards on it, but incorporating the blue, the black, and the red I got, which wasn't what he really wanted. And it's really nice yarn, so it's fiber optic cashmere, so it is light fingering, heavy lace, however you want to sort that, with merino cashmere and nylon, so it's been enjoyable to work with. It will pill, but it feels good, so it is warm and toasty. On the spinning front, I did manage to finish another skein of Janina fleece. So, really just go to Instagram to look at the photos of this. This one is the purple. It is the 8th of 9 skeins that I'm making. And it totally shows up as the wrong color on the webcam. It does it no justice. It looks gray. It is a pink purple. Can you believe it? It's a pink purple. I swear. So this ended up turning out to be 467.5 yards. I think it's about 2 ounces, but it might be more. So we'll just fact check myself. I probably should actually properly log all of this. Okay, so it is, oh, I guess it's pretty heavy. So it's 74 grams. Oh, but it's 2.6 ounces. Oh, whatever. So, not too crazy. But it did turn out to be a nice, basically, a loose weight 3-ply. No wonder this is taking so long. Making singles for all of these, and then the hilariousness about the fact I want to finish before the 31st of December. Here we are in April. It probably will need a wash. There was definitely some challenges. So I had 5 little balls of leftover singles from the other spins that I incorporated into this skein, which made it probably 0.6 ounces heavier than its buddies. Or something like that. Yeah, something like that. I am really liking it, so it'd be the case where what's going on here is what I did was I took a burgundy color, the Wilton's violet color, and then something that was probably a little bit more teal. And so that mixing the burgundy and the teal into this fiber probably did make it a little bit more dull than it could have been if I'd tried to just stick with pure purples. But it is a very subtle, shifty color. I definitely pick up more teal than the burgundy, but occasionally there's spots that have a little bit more of that in it. But you can't tell. Go to Instagram and you'll be able to actually see what's going on. So this is the second to last game, which means that there is only one more to do. So, and here is my baggie of all of the other scans. We'll probably take another group shot for Instagram. But if we go for the mostly purple, so if we go for the okay, so if I grab the mostly purple variants of this, I just don't look like anything really. So this is a part of sort of that color shift that I'm putting together, for which I am missing one skein. Which I will have at the end. So this is how it is coming together so far. So I have a beefy skein of all teal. I now have my all purple skein over here. And then all of these other guys. But I think the shadows seek to defeat me today. So, not like, I can definitely see pretty like distinct differences between all of these colors sort of up close, but the lighting is just a little bit funny with this current recording setup, so I'll have to figure out what ends up making sense. So, almost there. Not too crazy. And the blue should go pretty quick because it is the smallest amount. So I didn't have any leftovers of blue from all my applying things because I had a larger waist skein than top, just based on how I separated the fiber out. So even though I was pretty meticulous about weighing out each group and all of that other stuff, it continues on. And I was keeping all of my blue in this gray bag, and it is gorgeous, and you can't see any of the purple tones in it, as you do. So, really love this color. It's definitely my favorite of the project, so it will probably be what I choose to have be sort of the front of the sweater itself, so it'll be closest to my face when I actually get around to knitting the Mesa sweater wrap, which will be soon. But obviously I need to decide that the one I want to have is early in the project instead of late. And then I'll have to figure out if I go into purple or if I go into teal. As you do. So, I'll make it work out. Let's see. So, I ended up pulling this, or bringing this along. So this is my spindle project that I don't think has gotten any love this week, but at the very least it's nearby. It's available. So this is a fun onion bat that I'm spinning on my, oh, that's what it was. I remember now. So this is a fun onion bat that I'm spinning on my Bosworth MIDI. So it's something that I would like to, I know there was something I was thinking of. So I put the Ginny the Fleece project in my bin last year, but I did not succeed at finishing it. And then it is taking a decent portion of this year in order to get through that project. So I had but I put the rest of it in my bin to add up to 17 skeins that I was making. But I did, after pulling out the blue fiber here, I was able to sort of look and see about the status of my bin right now. So my bin is a U.S. mail property of the U.S. Postal Service container that I was using to schlep around my knitting stuff while I was in exile. So this is in my bin, along with some Two Guys Fiber Company backroom or carded sliver. So 8 ounces of that. I then also had 8 ounces of this Maiden's Wish nest, which I got in a de-stash last year. And then this other fiber that I bought at SSK. So this is alpaca starbright from Spotted Circus fiber. So 4 ounces of this. And then whatever in the world I have left. That I had already partially started the project, but there was enough left over that I counted it for the various entries. So this ends up adding up to roughly a pound and a half and fiber to get through. And an SSK bag for some reason. Hey. So I'm slightly concerned about my ability to get through it if I do my default spinning. It may be the case where I decide to do the two guys thicker than I would normally do. It appears that the opportunity to wear, wool is much greater in San Francisco, which I appreciate. And so I don't know if it's the case where you end up spinning thin because you get into like the zone with drafting. But it may be the case where I need to decide to spin some of this thicker because there's just no way. And the other thing about spinning thin is that it does blend the colors way more. So you end up seeing a lot less of the variation when you spin that way, as you do. So that's sort of where I'm feeling right now. I'm wondering if I want to take any of it. And run it through the drum carder just for funsies. Because it's just sitting out of frame, just a little bit. So we shall see how that turns out. But definitely the case where I'm looking at my progress there and being like, but it will be what it will be. Honestly, I was in the use it or lose it for the spin the bin, and no one has contacted me about me shipping fibers, so maybe there weren't actually any drawings, and so this is just a personal challenge of getting through some intentions, in which case this year is split between probably some of the oldest fiber I haven't spun in my stash from 2014. Is that? Yeah. From I've had this sleeve since before the podcast started, so many moons. And then all the stuff I got last year. Because my fiber was in storage, so I couldn't take photos of it for spin the bin. As you do. So, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But I'm thinking, plan for today is to finish organizing the kitchen. Maybe some baking. Weighing all of my skeins so that I can properly document them in Ravelry. That way I can probably get a better sense of proportions. And whatever else makes sense. I think there's some organizing of bathroom stuff to get rid of a couple more boxes, so that'd be good. Because the more stuff that gets put away into a forever home, the less I will have all of my Instagram photos have several boxes in them. As you do. I don't think there's any clean shot lines in the house except when I'm taking pictures out the window. Oh well. It's we're already boxes in this. It's there's no getting. So I was this is the bed frame that isn't done yet. So I think that is everything for this week. So I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.